So right now, I work at Microsoft as a partner technology strategist, a senior partner technology strategist that covers all of North America, right? So my partners that I'm covering, they do an over $5 to $6 billion in Microsoft business. So think of me as if you like football or you watch sports, I'm the coach. And my job is to draw up the plays. And these are business plays, right? I work in hand with a partner development manager who is like their business coach. I'm the technical coach and help them with their Microsoft business objectives. And how do they grow their business? How do they go to market? What new technologies they think I have? So it gets you in more of a strategic conversation. You understand the day in the life of an entrepreneur, right? So that transform that helped me with my own company, Tech Simplified, where my aim is to educate over 100 million people, right? In either cloud or AI. What we do now is create roadmaps. We provide tools and resources, and also, we share stories, right? So you can learn through my experience and the plethora of people and the women that I interview and the people that I interact with on a daily basis.
Hello and welcome to Cissay's Collab Space. My name is Amy Cissay. Today we have Sly Gittens. Sly, I really appreciate the fact that you are joining me here today. We met each other through the Microsoft Partner Program. It is called the Black Partner Growth Initiative, where Black-owned businesses have been supported in a number of different ways to help their businesses grow and thrive in the Microsoft ecosystem. And Sly is the founder of Tech Simplified. And so that's just a very short introduction. You do so many amazing things. Please give the audience an introduction.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Amy. And it's an honor for me joining here because I've seen some of the past other features on there. So, man, I'm excited to be here. It was great. I'm glad I got a chance to meet you when at my role at Microsoft or my day job as a partner technology strategist. Because I got to work with fellow business owners like yourself and help them with their Microsoft business objectives. And how do they grow their business? How do they go to market? What new technologies they think I have? So it gets you in more of a strategic conversation. You understand the day in the life of an entrepreneur, right? So that helped me with my own company, Tech Simplified, where my aim is to educate over 100 million people, right? In either cloud or AI, right? I know it's a pretty ambitious goal, but I think I can get it done, right? And how do you do those things? By scaling it, making tech accessible, making it fun. So I have a YouTube channel now that has about 27,000 and counting, right? I got different variations in terms of learning through traditional means, through classes and slides and those things, learn through short form content, learn through things like podcasting, learn through like career journeys, right? I'm also blessed to be able to host a Women in Tech podcast that I just shot episode 57, right? Where I get to interview amazing women. You was on there. I got to, teach a lot of the up and coming women and men in the IT space and show them the day in life of a founder. So again, it's my pleasure meeting you because watching how you maneuver as an entrepreneur is really something that inspires me to do the same one day. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So we're going to come back to Tech Simplified. Let's start off with what you're doing at Microsoft currently.
Yep. So right now, I work at Microsoft as a partner technology strategist, a senior partner technology strategist that covers all of North America, right? So my partners that I'm covering, they do an over $5 to $6 billion, right? So in Microsoft business. So it's a very strategic role. It's not a very known role because no one like, what does that actually mean, right? So think of me as if you like football or you watch sports, I'm the coach. And my job is to draw up the plays. And these are business plays, right? I work in hand with a partner development manager who is like their business coach. I'm the technical coach. So whereas previous in my career, I was a person installing or I was a person architecting the actual design of the solutions. Now I'm talking with the business owners and the stake owners to figure out what are their goals for the upcoming year and beyond. What is Microsoft goals? how do we make that intersection for them to be profitable, but also Microsoft to be profitable? So the hard things in that is you got multiple people who got different strategic goals that you got to be able to balance. You also got to balance the business goals with the technical goals, because business goals drive everything. The technical goals just a reflection of what you want to carve out from the business. So it's a role that requires a little bit of technical skills, sales skills, and leadership and management skills. So it's pretty cool. It was the next evolution of where I wanted to go, to be more of a facilitator and a leader in the space. And it gives me that ability no longer to be the person who's installing it, but I can't help it. I still lab up all the time. That's why I got my tech YouTube channel, to get my hands dirty, because sometimes you get kind of bored, not at least for me, not doing some things, and I feel a little bit more credible. But it also helped me to realize that you can't do it all by yourself, that you need to leverage other people. So that's kind of what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis at Microsoft.
So what are the top technologies that your partners are using? I already know you're going to say CoPilot, but maybe not.
So top of mind now, of course, Microsoft CoPilot, right? If you heard the earnings report, Microsoft CoPilot on every desk, right? That's the goal. You're going to hear a lot about Azure Virtual Desktop. That's a big area with VMware and Broadcom. Broadcom buying VMware, right? So a lot of customers want to move off of that platform. We're seeing a lot of teams are embedded, right? That's at the core. Seeing a lot of Azure AI and Open AI, that's coming up. And let's not sleep on infrastructure. That's the backbone of everything. So infrastructure, like app migrations. I'm seeing a lot of Azure Stack ACI or multi-cloud deployments and integration there. And now a big thing that's coming up because of CoPilot is data. How do you protect the data? How do you protect the actual roles and administrative roles, right? So security is at that fabric. It's not that add-on, bolt-on. It's at the initial conversation, because as you know, companies want to make sure where their data is going, who has ownership of it. How do I make sure Sly doesn't get Amy if I'm an employee for you, seeing how much everyone in the organization making, right? How much she taking home, and I'm finding like, hold on, she taking home this much, and I'm only getting paid this much, right? That could cause some internal turmoil. So you gotta understand things like Microsoft Purview, so our data security tool, right? And then you also gotta understand the basic things like Defender for Endpoint or Sentinel. Those conversations are coming up quite frequently, and something that is kind of table stakes, but it's talking all the time, but just not as sexy anymore, probably, is Intune. Device management. We all using devices. We're working from home, like even me right now. They got to know where I am. What am I using? Am I using the data in a safe way? So you still got to be able to handle those data policies there. So those are some of the things. And there's so many more things we could talk about, because it just depends. I realize in this part of my career, what type of industry I'm talking about. It depends what's going to lead the conversation at the time. But those would be some of the things that I'll focus on primarily.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what our team is doing too. We're focused on learning a lot about CoPilot and how to protect the data. Since we support some government clients, the question is definitely, where does the data live? Is the data going to be leaked out to the public? What does that look like? Are you touching any government clients, or is it more commercial?
For me, it's commercial, because Microsoft actually has a separate team for the federal side of the business. But yeah, so for me, I do primarily commercial clients.
Okay. Yeah. And so your hands-on approach. So I definitely understand that too. Like, even, when you mention that you're supporting the partners, you still like to get your hands dirty. I think that's a smart way to do it, right? Because you can kind of read and try to understand, but when you kind of touch the tools and kind of, like you said, get your hands dirty, I think that's for some people, right? Because people learn differently. Sometimes it's a better, more organic way for them to learn and be able to articulate back what this tool is actually doing versus, oh, this is what I read online. Right?
I think you find a lot of things that you might not see in a doc page. Because I get in a conversation like Sly on doc page, it says do it. It don't work that way. I have tried this 15 times. It does not work that way. So yeah, we don't need to have this conversation. I already troubleshooted already. So now I can say I do, but here's a little thing that you can probably do to get you past that speed bump. Or let's start from here, because did you try these things? You did? Let me bring in one of my, partner solution architects who can dive a little bit deeper for them to kind of go figure out, right? So then they go like, all right, Slys know what he's talking about. He's just not a talking head here, right? He's not, it depends who you're talking to, right? Because if I'm talking to a CRO, they don't really care about me getting deep with it. They want to understand the business impact. But sometimes you can understand from the technology what the shortcomings are, what conversations or landmines you need to avoid, or where you need to steer the conversation from a business scenario so you can focus on those wins, right? So that's what I try to do more appropriately is what's the business problem, right? But sometimes for me, playing with it helps me solve that because sometimes I'm like, all right, I'm a business owner. How would I use this at Tech Simplified, right? How would this make my job easier? I don't have the infinite amount of resources like I have at Microsoft. It's just me now and my income coming in. Now I got to make a decision, right? So for me, with the hands-on, it allows me to at least go back and say, how would I use this? And I use it. Like I'm a Microsoft business premium user outside of work, right? And I use the tools. I deploy them. I set up conditional access statements, and policies. I do all those things so that I can talk about them and use them. CoPilot is kind of hard because I'm not a beta for it to work. So I got to use a lot of the demo labs for that. But again, I feel like you got to be eat your own dog food, we like to call it, right? So that's the way I try to operate.
I mean, that's a valid point because then you can have conversations with the business owners, the executives. Maybe they don't care about the nitty gritty details of how it's actually configured, but they want to understand the vision of where they're trying to get to so they can make those decisions around if we're going to go down a route or choose an alternate path. And then but then they're going to at some point put you on a call with their technical people, right?
100%.
And so you can speak their language too.
Yeah.
And that was a valid point. Like sometimes the documentation might not hit home exactly the steps in your environment because you could have different configurations that might not be applicable to your particular instance. And it's helpful that you can kind of like walk people through it so they don't get stuck.
Or at least know, and at least know where not to send them down, right? Or I know how far I can go. I'm like, you know what? Seem like you're about to bring your CSA in or your cloud solution architect, your implementation engineer in. Let me bring in, such and such who can go that 10 miles deep because I can, right? So let's not even waste that time, right? You can save time because I realize if you could tell someone like yourself that, hey, you know what? That's a good conversation. I've gotten there, but I haven't gone past that scenario. So let's not waste any more time here. When can we set up another call? Let me get some times. Let me go find me a resource. Let me get there because I find sometimes you got to be able to know where you can't go before you get there. Because if you got a customer on the line, I work with partners like yourself, right? If you're bringing me in or bringing someone in like myself, you already most of the time did the preliminary stuff already. You're looking for someone who can go that extra mile deeper, right? So so for me is sometimes I can't get that person. So I might have to be that person, right? So you just got to know kind of, what resources you have in the team. And you just got to know, like, again, it's easy to go down. Like I spend nights, I'm like, why did I just learn this? I'm never going to use this, right? And no one ever asked me about it, right? But sometimes it does, right? So just, again, it's something that you got to learn when do you want to use that, right? Because it can be a superpower. And it also could be a crutch, right? Because you could have someone else doing that work, right? So,
right. And then sometimes you might, like you said, learn something and you're like, why am I even spending time on this? Because I might not use it, but then someone's going to ask you a question about it. Like, a few months down the road, and at least you can speak to it versus saying, I have no idea.
Correct. Or at least say, hey, this is where I learned the information from. Hey, you could go read this right now. That's what I've been doing. Like, I'm doing security CoPilot. That's not my job. But it came up and I was able to have that conversation on at least, the back end stuff for it that, at least I could start the conversation. I knew how to have it in my planning discussions. Understood how it could help their business from a sales perspective, right? So again, it helps. You just never know. Like, it's like information you get. It's like going to college almost, right? You go to school in the hope that you get a degree. You can learn this information. There's no guarantee that on the end of it, you're going to get a job and how much you want. It's a packaging of information, structured learning, right? So you got to be able to leverage that structured learning to solve problems, right? And that's why I try to teach, even a lot of the kids I mentor, I'm like, like I got a lot of people who feel like they're entitled to like, all right, I spent 10 hours studying, I should get this. No, it don't work that way. It may help you, but it might not either, right? So you just gotta be okay with that. And sometimes that's just a sweat equity to get you into these places, right? Because you will meet that person who wants that excellence, right? So it's up to you if you're willing to do the work or not. And it's tough, because I got kids in the family. So sometimes, but my kids see it. They come and see what you doing, Dad. You labbing? Yeah, I'm labbing. You want to come lab with me? I got the extra table right there. They come lab with me on the side, right? So it's tough, but you just setting that foundation of learning because, like in this game, it changes. When I came in the game, I was an HP server technician. And I was doing like bare metal, like the deployments, right? Before even VMware came out. And then VMware came on, I'm like, oh snap, I think I need to learn this. I could do 5 servers in one. This seemed pretty practical. If I'm a business owner, this is gonna save me on, what is it? OpEx expenses. Maybe my capital expenditures goes down, my heating and cooling goes down, and now it's the operating expense. Man, that's a different conversation, man. That's a straight business conversation. Let me learn this now. And the good thing I did it, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be having a job right now. A lot of those jobs got moved offshore. And then I saw VMware becoming saturated, so I switched to security, right? Again, and then now I saw cloud coming. I'm like, man, I don't know anything about cloud. What's an S3 bucket? What the heck is that? Like I was a product marketing manager. Like, yeah, you need to create a pitch about S3 buckets. I'm like, I don't know what you're even talking about. Like how am I supposed to write about that? And it was so painful because I didn't know the technology, right? And I needed to know it then, right? So again, those extra nights of playing Madden probably would have been better off learning about S3 buckets at the time, right? So again, it's this, you just never know when that data's or information is going to come to bite you in the butt. Like I wanted a code. I keep putting it off. And now with like Azure AI, I need to learn Python. But I could have learned that 2 years ago, right? So now it's like, all right, I'm at this intersection again. Do I spend the time or do I let it pass me by, right? So, every decision or indecision matters. I know it's it probably sounds crazy when I'm talking about it because these things you might not think about usually comes back in some form or another, right? This depends on where you want to go. So
I mean, that is valid. And one of the things that kind of stuck out to me with that is like the constant learning. And I think that in tech, I've been in it for, a very 20 years, 21 years. And so it's like this constant learning exercise. So what are your views around how AI is going to shape careers or perspectives on careers? Because some people are worried that if, AI is going to take everybody's job, right?
it's possible. Yeah.
Like,
it's definitely possible, but I look at it as the internet. If you learned it, you're great. But if you didn't, I see my parents. I see some of the older generation. They're like, Sylvester, are you on the internet of the web? I'm like, what is that? You mean on the internet? It's not, the way they talk about it, right? They're not able to, do the jobs of the future. So my thing is learning, right? Don't be too afraid about it, right? So I actually did a video on it, right? Will AI take your job, right? And it depends, right? It will take some of the jobs that's repeatable, but you got to learn how to prompt. People might say, well, they got AI that prompts itself. Then you got to learn how to code, or you can learn how to create an app and prompt and make money off of it, right? I saw Drake use the AI to use Tupac's voice to do a diss track from someone else, right? You can use these tools to our advantage. So my thing is, I always try to learn it before I have to learn it. That's always been my thing in life, right? So even for now, I don't have a data and AI background. I don't have a data background. I understand data, but I don't do, fabric. I had to learn that. I had to learn Python a little bit, right? I had to learn my math skills. I realized I stopped at Calc 1. I had to improve my math skills a little bit, right? So to be able to do some of the stuff, to figure it out. But the way I look at it in life is either you're going to do it because you want to do it, which I like now, or I can set my time. I can do it 10 minutes here and learn it, or you're forced to do it. And then now you don't have the ability to kind of set your time frame. So to answer your direct question, like AI is something that you just need to learn. Like you can find an easy way. Let's go on Google. You can use Chat GPT, and you can use the free version, right? And just figure out, all right, what's my routine for today? You can do something super general today. Then to say, what I am, say, a founder of a tech simplified company who provide training for businesses and individuals. How can I structure my day to be more productive? And what I mean by productive, you can put semicolon. I want to increase my engagement. I want to increase the quality of my technical training. I also want to find customers that's unique to it. And boom, now you did a vague one, you did a super generic one. You can see where it fails versus good at. And now you can either A, with that information, as you keep doing that, take that information, package it, and put it into a training online that you can sell for to make money, right? Or you could take that information if you're working at a company, say Amy hires you right now, and now you know that she tells us we got to do less for more right now because the economy isn't doing too great. Hey, Amy, I can do 100 blog posts for you tomorrow, right? And they're going to be good. And I can do the video for it. I integrated with Canva. I integrated with my, I even talk to my graphic designers with it now. How do I write this in a graphic designer to understand what I want? So now instead of me taking 5 emails, take me 1 email. And if you tell a business owner like Amy, you can do that, you got your job, you got yourself a job forever. So look at it as a utility, not a crutch. Where I see people going wrong with AI is they just take it at face value. All right, write me an essay on why the New York Knicks didn't win a championship this year. And they just take it. And they don't know if it's hallucinating. That means it's giving you wrong data. They didn't stress test it. They didn't Google check it. You didn't fact check it, right? Try it out. Also, don't be afraid to use more than one. I use Gemini. I use CoPilot for Microsoft. I use Claude is pretty good too. I use, ChatGPT primarily, right? And I'll test them. Some things do better things than other things. I mean, like they do different things better, right? You need a little bit of all of them. But, the answer to your question again, succinctly, you got to learn AI. It's not going anywhere. It's like the internet. Internet ain't going anywhere. It's going to change and evolve. AI is going to become a part of life. Like we're talking about it right now because it's new. But it's like the internet now. We ain't talking about how to get online anymore. It's not like dial up back in the day when I was a little kid.
Right.
We ain't talking about any of that anymore. It's just here. Social media. I remember my marketing teacher was like, "Oh, that's a fast investor. You don't need to use it." Because I was talking about LinkedIn when it first came. I'm like, you already have your connections already, so that's why it's not important to you. My fans from Barbados, they didn't go to college. I have no idea. I don't have any of these contacts that I need to make a difference in my life. So LinkedIn helped me meet people in different parts of the world that I can ask Amy a question like, "Hey, Amy, I'm fresh in college right now. If you were me, what would you do?" "Oh, Sly, hey, put 10 minutes on my calendar. I got 10 minutes for you before I could prep now. Hey, Amy, what was one thing that you think I should focus on? This is my major. Any advice?" Boom. Now I can talk to you, right? That changed the game. I don't got to sell anyone on LinkedIn anymore. LinkedIn is just part of the fabric now, right? So like it's the same thing. This technology is just going to be a part of the fabric. You learn how to use it, right? Because if you don't, you're going to get your job taken from someone who does know how to use it. I got kids who use it. My kids know how to use some Chat GPT. They even use Alexa or the Google what's that the Alexa version, right? They talk to that like, "Sly, Dad, you're wrong. This is how tall the Empire State Building is." I'm like, okay, right? I even showed, I taught my daughter how to, prompt her a unicorn. She wanted a picture of a unicorn. Then I said, let's prompt you a coloring page. She made her own coloring pages now. So I was like, man, I could put this in a book and sell this on Amazon, new coloring page book, right? So she's a little kid. She out earned me just doing that coloring page book, right? So it doesn't matter that she's 5 now. She's 5 with the infinite power of like 10 supercomputers in that one prompt, right? So now that 5-year-old is dangerous now, right? You know what I'm saying? Give someone enough time. If you gave me ChatGPT as a kid, do you understand how much fun I would have had with this? Like I didn't have to go to the library, walk down, figure it out. figure out the information, put in a CD player, CD to make sure it has something, or DVD, put that in there, listen to it, man. Like it's terrible. Like it's so information is everywhere. So now me being a hoarder of information doesn't help me. It's how well can you disseminate information and leverage it is great, which I find pretty fascinating. So anyway, I could talk all day about
Yeah. No, I think that what you're saying is you have to figure out how technology is going to work for you, how AI can work for you,
Correct.
and being open to embracing the new technology because kids, they're effortless look with it. So you could even think about, what do I like?
Yeah.
Just at a simple level. I like going to restaurants. I like eating nice food.
Yeah.
Use AI to suggest some new restaurants to try out. Or if you like to cook, suggest for it to pull up some recipes for you to try out.
Correct.
Like something that's relatable at just a basic level so that you can like kind of dip your toe in the water a bit to see if it's going to be a good fit for you. And then, like you said, then take it to the next level. Disseminate information if you can.
Yeah, my other best friend wanted to. His manager hated the way he wrote because a lot of engineers just can't write. He's one of them. So I'm like, dude, you ChatGPT, what are you doing right now? Here's your prompt. And I'm like, dude, you're electrical engineering. You got more math than I am. You want to crunch this harder than me. Tell me, report to me in a month. You're going to be using it better than I am. Sly, man, I got a promotion. He likes the way I write. I'm editing, making it better now. It sounds so much better. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, use it to help you. Like I needed, sometimes I come up with the same ideas. And as soon as I use ChatGPT. I'm like, all right, this is my YouTube channel. This is what I want to do. What's some ideas I can leverage? Boom. All right. Why did you give me those ideas? Boom. What do you think is the value in those ideas? The next thing you know, I had one video that had 28,000 views in a week, right? From one of the things. I didn't come up with that idea. I came up with the idea. I got no shame in my game. I even helped me craft my I took my my script that I wrote. I'm like, hey, can you make this a little bit more better for this particular audience? And It's changed the words just so slightly that I was able to talk to a particular audience, which I thought was kind of cool, that I didn't have the skill set to do that. And yes, you could say, Sly, go, get some more grammar books and do that. How long is that going to take me?
Right.
That's going to take some time, right? Where I can just focus on what I do really well, right? So, you just got to find a use case. That's what I did. I use it for my my rental properties. I needed to one of my tenants move their whole family into it, start running up my bills. I learned going forward that I need to put a guest tenant stipulation in there because my lawyer said, well, I can't kick them out. You don't got a guest tenant policy. So they could walk their mom outside and came back. They can't sue the new guest. You don't got anything that says that's not appropriate. So going forward, I asked ChatGPT to write me a new guest policy. I took that guest policy and the new thing I wrote, sent it to my lawyer, had it review it, right? And the lawyer like, man, this is great. I want to change 2 things. And then boom, it was good, right? So and then I use that now. Like, tenant try to do it again. Like, you signed that, buddy. You just breached your contract. Now you ain't paying me rent. You got to leave, right? So he was able, now I could be able to help me, but it was something that solved a particular problem for me, right? So
right.
I said, so that's like, I like how you said that because I even did that with my mom. She loves going, talking to our family in Barbados. And I'm like, hey, just ask it, what's cheap flights to get to Barbados? What can I do when I get there? What's some other food that, Bajans eat? Because my mom tends to eat sometimes the same food. It's really good, outstanding, delicious. But she even started using it, for that. So.
Yeah. I mean, I remember back in the day when my parents had to buy phone cards. And now with WhatsApp, I mean, that changed the whole international calling game.
Yeah. My family don't talk to me on anything else but WhatsApp. They're like, Sylvester, why didn't you ask me on WhatsApp? I'm like, I don't use WhatsApp, on a day-to-day basis, but I'm realizing internationally, that's the currency, right? That's what they're using. That is the platform of choice. So, I got to put that into my day. Let me go check my WhatsApp, see what my cousins in Barbados or, Canada and Toronto are texting me, right? So, yeah, it's, once I showed my mom that, she talks to all her brothers and sisters in Barbados through WhatsApp. Send messages, hearts, all these gifts that I was like, where do you even find these things at? So but again, it
Exactly.
was a reason for her to stay in contact.
Right. Absolutely. Use it for inspiration. Figure out what's going to work best for you, for sure.
Yeah.
And I do that too. Like I'll rewrite. Like I need sometimes to write something differently. And I like what you said about using different tones to say, write it for this audience, change the wording around. So
Oh yeah, especially when you someone I'm hosting a Woman in Tech podcast. You don't want to come off like like I'm telling what women to do, right? Like you do not want to do that, right? So sometimes I'm just checking like what's the tone? How does it read? Well, it does sound like you're trying to, dictate on how maybe you should say it this way, Sylvester. That's what I wanted to say. I thought that's what I was saying. Right. So it can definitely help you with a different audience. Or sometimes I might not even know that I'm using a masculine tone when I'm doing it. So I ask it. And then I also ask some of my peers, like, I'm like, hey, can you read this? Or Amy, can you read this? What do you think? It's not a big deal, man. Right. Just to make sure, because you can't, like I said, don't use it 100% because you could go wrong, man. Right. Especially in legal situations. Just double check it. I look at it as another tool, man. Like when I went on Google, I don't take everything for something. I gotta go check the sources, gotta make sure is it still relevant for today, right? Still do your due diligence. It's gonna be harder for kids now because they might not know the difference between the days and having it. I guess since we old enough to know different times. It's gonna be different teaching my kids. My kids are 100% knowing how to prompt. Prompt engineering is gonna be taught in my house starting now. They're gonna be the best prompters that's possibly out there. They're gonna learn. You're gonna read. We're gonna do all the normal things to learn. But prompt engineering is. I don't care if they're not even a tech person going forward. They will know how to prompt in some form or one form or another. And they're gonna have a good math background, so they're able to do these things if they need to, right? But even using a prompt for math. Like I remember my friend needed help with some level 2 calculus. I never went to level 2 calculus. But I do know that there's tools out there that can help you with it, right? I even threw it in the chat GPT. I snipped it in there, threw it in there. What is this? I didn't know what it was. It was some weird formula. I never seen theories and numbers. I don't know what it is. It was something crazy. It told me what it was. Then I'm like, how do I use this? How would I solve this? Is there a formula for this? What else can you teach me about this? It literally broke everything down and taught me for it. Then I Googled it just to make sure that this was exactly what I was looking for. Found out that was exactly what I was looking for. I was like, well, how come the other answers aren't right? So even when I'm studying for a certification now, I will go look at practice questions, right? And I'm like, well, why is the other answer isn't correct? And what paper would the other answer be correct? So then you get to learn, it's crazy. You got so much fun with these things.
Yeah, that's true.
So
wish I had, well, I don't actually. I loved calculus, so I did everything manual. We won't go down
that, man. See that? Like not me. I was I cried. I resigned it one time, took it another time, got like a B minus. I'm like, oh my God, this is rough, man. But I now look back, I wasn't that good of a student back then. I was playing way too much Madden and not focusing. Let's call spade a spade. I was not studying. If I would have done it now with me taking all these certs, I would have approached it a lot differently. Still probably hard, but it ain't that. It's not impossible. It's just the way you learn, right? I realized the way I gotta be more hands-on. My problem was I never really understood the formulas, so I just try to solve the problem. But then when you change the words on the problem, you go back. Like you didn't know the formula, right? You didn't know the foundational knowledge, right? So you got to go back and learn that. Right. And it's more volume. I just needed to practice some more, get my hands on it and just do it. Like if I would have knew that at 19, I didn't know, like I just wasn't that kid at 19, so.
Yeah, that's understandable. You girl, you learn. Yep.
And I realized I got people like you who like it. So I'm like, hey, man, solve that for me, please. You need help with the marketing and everything else? I'll help you with that. My best friends are all engineers who are good at doing that. But they are terrible at promoting themselves and all the other things that I love to do. And I realized, we just going to transfer those skills. I don't need to be the count whiz, right? Maybe I'm not going to build the next, we call that again, what is it? Algorithm. That ain't going to be me. It's probably not gonna be me. Might be my kids, might not be me. That's okay, but I don't know the person who's gonna do that. So I'm gonna figure out, well, because that person might not know how to sell the algorithm. They might be sitting on a gold mine and don't even know they're sitting on a gold mine. Like I got friends who are by far smarter than me, but it can't make as much because they don't know how to sell themselves. Right. So it's like there's so many skills that you can leverage. I found in life is find what you like to do, get really good at that, be aware of what you don't like to do, and build a strong team around you. Like my wife is everything I don't like, she is good at it. She's an operational person. I'm the big picture person. I can see the whole board. Sometimes I don't know how to get to that whole board. I might make some mistakes, but you'll get there eventually because I can see the plays. Right. And then my wife is good at the day-to-day, make sure the things that I'll forget that you need to know. Right. So then I realize in my business, I got to get like a virtual assistant who does the day-to-day because I'm just not going to remember. Right. Because I'm thinking about 18 other things. You just got to know yourself, I realize, in life and what you're good at. Right. So.
And find that balance. And I think that was a perfect segue into what you're trying to do with Tech Simplified, right? Because you have a goal of, what was it, teaching?
Yeah, so I want to teach over 100 million people in cloud and AI concepts. So that might be from businesses teaching their teams on how to install, like, say, CoPilot, right? That's cloud computing, and understanding what cloud is. That could be from when I do my speaking to undergraduate students, right? When I go back to speak, to teach them what's out there, through my YouTube channel, right? And the goal is to make it accessible, because I know for me, tech changed my life, right? It was ability for me to take care of my mom and dad right now. It was able for me to change life. And I know tech is at the fabric of society right now. It's just a part of it. It's not the only thing that's there, but it isn't going anywhere, right? So if you can learn like cloud computing, people like, well, I know it's not the most sexiest thing to talk about, but AI at its core is cloud computing. Some of the APIs that we pull in, what they on, right? You need to learn the basics, right? So again, pairing those together, learning that, but not only through me, learning through your stories. I'm bringing on cloud solution architects, owners, sales reps, marketing people, finance people, all in tech, because people sometimes think of technologists or cloud computer and AI as people who write the algorithms, and they are very important, right? But there's so many other people in there that helps makes this thing come together, right? So that's what I'm trying to do at Tech Simplified is, and when you do that, as an individual, what does that do? Open more doors. So what does that do? Increase your net worth, your capital, your earning potential, right? So that's one of the selling points. For organization, the better that you can adopt these technologies, that can either save you money or enhance your ability to reach other markets. If you're a business like yourself, it can help you reach other customers, right? Because now training in certain areas. So that's kind of my long-term goal, because training isn't going anywhere. Even in, you might say, Sly, why do we need you if we got ChatGPT? Because sometimes companies don't know how to use ChatGPT. Sometimes people want to be able to learn things outside of ChatGPT, right? Sometimes you want to be able to, ChatGPT can't solve everything yet, right? Some of the fringe technologies that ChatGPT hasn't learned yet, right? So there's always going to be an opportunity for learning. And for me, I think that's a problem worth solving. Yes, a lot of people are doing it. But I feel like still, a lot of content I come across is usually dull and boring, not exciting, not engaging. A lot of the contents are usually static. They don't meet the customer where they are, right? They don't form it into how they learn. I'm more of an audio listener, right? Or video watcher. I can read books. I got a ton of them back there, even more in the closet. But I found I like to do the other ones. I prefer those methods. And I get frustrated when companies don't offer those things. Or sometimes gamifying it, those type of things, right? So, and then I can't wait, when I use my Apple Vision Pros, right? I want to make content for that in the future. So then when you go and do your speaking and you want to do a presentation for 100,000 people, you're going to put those Vision Pros on. You're going to put those virtual reality headsets on, and you could go give a presentation to 100 million people and fill in the heartbeat and everything, right? That's an experience of learning that I want to be able to eventually get to, right? Where you can be there without being there, so you can practice before you get there, right? So that's always my thing, and what we want to start off with Tech Simplified. But you start small first. If I start off like that, ain't no way I'm devouring that, right? I look at it as a pizza pie. If I try to fold a pizza and just try to put it in my mouth, I'm gonna get a lot of grease everywhere. I might be able to get it down eventually. It's gonna be hard. Cut that thing into slices. And for right now, the slice I want to talk to, I started off with YouTube, just training people for free. And I realized there's a thing for structured learning. And sometimes you don't even need to recreate the learning. Sometimes my job is to aggregate the learning, because I can go through a ton of content and find out what's actually valuable. I don't think there's a purpose of also all the time creating new content. If the content is already good, just point to it and attribute them. Like, make sure that you give credit to who did it. If Amy did it, I'm not going to say Tech Simplified trained you. I'm like, oh, did you see the training, Amy's podcast? Point to that so they can learn it. That's still valuable, creating like roadmaps, right? So that's what we do now, is create roadmaps. We provide tools and resources, and also, we share stories, right? So you can learn through my experience and the plethora of people and the women that I interview and the people that I interact with on a daily basis.
Is that through the podcast piece, or is it like a group session that you might have through your training?
So right now is for the podcast piece. And now I'm also building out Tech Simplified training. Used to be called Tech Simplified University, but it's not. I want to shake that university term, because this is just learning as you go, training wherever you want to go, right? So I'm building out that piece right now. I'm actually got a few people I'm working with who are subject matter experts that's coming on. Because my goal is to be like a Udemy eventually, a Udemy, right? Where you can just come in. If you're an expert like Amy, I know you're great at, Power Apps. I know you're also great at Teams and building out Viva environments, right? Do a training on there, right? You can sell it out. You can actually just be another place you can put your training on to teach people, right? And then, we're going to focus it. I'm going to focus it on businesses and verticals, where then, we're on YouTube is everything. You got to figure out how to parse through it. Where mine's, I want to solve more problems with my training, and then just go from there.
So do you, when you talk about like the way that you want to categorize the trainings, I think that's a great idea, because when you are supporting different agencies, especially earlier when I mentioned government, you're probably trying to figure out, can I do this with the education licenses? Can I do this with the government licenses? And so I think that like having like that focus will kind of help people get what they need a little faster, versus, they went through this training, like you said, like they're on LinkedIn and they see or just wherever they are, like online or even on YouTube, right? Like they see all these videos and all these things, and then they try to go implement it, and wait, that's actually not relevant to what I'm trying to do.
Right. Like if I even tell you some of the skills in corporate, they might not have got to the GCC licensing yet. They might never do. So I could say, hey, I'm like, hey, Amy, did you check out this new latest and greatest feature? Like, yeah, it's not there yet.
It's not there
yet.
I
just wasted your time, right? So you should. That's why I'm trying to get a little bit better, because you see that a lot, right? Even I do it. Like, I'm trying to learn AI. I don't know where to start. I'm not an AI person, right? So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna learn deep learning. I'm gonna learn that. That sounds cool. I do not want to learn that. Like that's not gonna help me for my day-to-day job. How am I gonna apply this? I can't apply this yet. Maybe I should learn prompting. Then I was like, you know what? Let me ask a different question. Let me ask ChatGPT, right? How should I get started? And they gave me some ideas. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I work at Microsoft. Let me go ask one of my cloud solution architects, right? Hey, how do I get started? And they gave me like a couple of trainings, like to learn the basics. And they always ask me, well, what you want to do with it? And I'm like, are you planning to do, like, eventually going to create your own algorithms? Yeah, the AI 102 ain't going to help you with that, so don't do that, right? Go take a course and do something else over here, right? And then you can go to like edX, right, and get a training from like Stanford or something, right? So you just got to figure out to ask more questions, but yeah.
And did I see that you have a clothing line for Tech Simplified?
Oh yeah, that's just more my nerdware, man. So it's apparel. I got I also got resources in there. We start off with resume templates, because I find a lot of my tech people terrible at making resumes, right? Like my marketing background, I do both. People are like, well, is it ATS friendly? Yes, it's ATS friendly. I use it to get into Microsoft, RSA. I could use it. I had an old business back in the day doing resume writing and all those things. So I'm building that out. So those tools. So I'm going to have more like career building tools. I'm going to have roadmaps. So right now you can get stickers on there, like always be learning. You get the sticker on there. I'm going to have like, different like, battery packs. Again, this is just the brand, making it a lifestyle, right? Always be learning is something I do. That's going to be that's on the back of the shirts. Want to have a women in tech ally shirt, like ally, forever shirt going forward, like some cool things. And I'm going to use some of those proceeds from those ally shirts to give back to my, to different charities, right? So I do that now. Like the last time I did a speaking engagement, I gave it to the Black Girls That Code, right? Organization, right? I gave that. So those are the things I'm trying to do. Try to make it more of a lifestyle, right? So when you think about Tech Simplified, it's a mindset, right? It's always be learning. Like I say that because I truly believe it. From me being a dad, a husband, a friend, a colleague, a mentor, all these different roles is an opportunity to learn. That doesn't just go for technology, right? For me to be a better dad, I realized I had to deal with a lot of the stuff that I was dealing with as a child. So I ended up getting a therapist, right? So to talk to him, to learn those things, I had to grow mentally that way. I had to figure out why was I getting short fused with my kids, right? And realizing I got other things that has taken over my space, right? So you got to learn new tactics. So same thing for technology. I've been a good technologist, but does that make me a good entrepreneur? No, because at the end of the day, I do all these things and it's costing me money and not making me money, right? We got to figure out the business plan to fail fast and pivot, right? So I got to learn that. There's a good book also. It's called What Got You Here Won't Get You There, right? And that's pretty much my whole philosophy right now, right? Is I use the clothing line more as to feel part of the community. Always be learning, figure out, again, it's just another way, another revenue stream where, I'm going to use it to put that back into the business, right? It's extra money I get from there goes back into the training content, goes back in the ability to make better podcasts, goes back into eventually in the future. I hope I could get sponsorships and have like a not-for-profit, right? So then I could do a little bit more impact on those areas. So again, this goes back into the overall vision, right? Being my own boss, right? But also just being able to make a profitable business in the end of the day, right? It started off as a hobby, and now like, can it be a business, right? And it can, but you got to think a little bit different. I mean, that's the always be learning mindset. I had to learn to facilitate, like I said earlier, how to learn not to be the talent all the time, right? To hire out. I talked to you about leveraging. I used to edit my videos. My time's too valuable to edit videos now. I pay someone else to do that, right? But then you got to look at the business budget, right? Because sometimes they be sending me quotes. I'm like, this don't make sense, right? The video made me this amount from YouTube advertisement, right? I'm not getting 1 million views. Is this even a good trade-off right now? So what's another way? Do I need to get an intern? Do I need to bring that back in-house, right? Do I need to pivot the game, right? Again, these are all things I get to learn. And that's what, the clothing line is all about, right? And I even got a book, Daddy's Little Girl, wrote for my daughter, who inspired the woman in tech journey, right? Again, I'm learning, right? So I wrote the book. I got another book coming out, Letters to My Son, where I'm writing those things I want him to know from, being a man and growing up. Also things, how you treat women or how you treat your sister, or things about, what I was thinking about when he was born, right? So he can kind of understand the thoughts of, being a father, some of the mistakes that he might see me make and wonder what was his intention that you might never get, right? So these are the things that, outside of technology, I feel like we still people. Sometimes we don't showcase that part of ourselves. So for me, this business, why am I doing this? Microsoft was a great company. I absolutely love my job, right? I'm doing it for my kids, right? Something I can pass down, something that you can give, right? Show them that dreams that I had as a child, that I'm actualizing those. And to me, those things are probably more important than the other things that I do. Whether or not that I do it or not, right? I'm going to try to make sure I achieve those, but the quest of getting those to me is pretty exciting, right? And why else you living, at least for me, if you're not, moving towards things, what's really motivating you, right? So it's a constant pull and push situation, right? Being a parent, you know it, right? You want to give all to your business, but we made a commitment to our children, right? So you got to be, you got to also think about what type of parent you want to be. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm not here to judge anyone. I know what type of parent I want to be. And certain things you got to compromise on sometimes, right? And how you're going to show up. And when you do show up, are you fully there? Right. So again, always be learning, right? And growing, always be learning and growing. Right. So that's something I'm doing now. And hopefully people can see that through my work and through my actions. So.
That's awesome. Very, very impressive. I like that. Always be learning. And what I got from that, I might even try to see if I can teach my son how to edit these videos. Because that might be a good learning experience for him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And worse, he finds out, you know what? I don't want to edit videos when I get older. It's like when my parents made me go out and became work at White Castle flipping burgers. I realized, no offense to anyone who works there, I knew that was not going to be for me, right? So even you learning that, I remember my brother used to help me with his apartments. He would buy houses, and I would help fix them, gut them, and everything. So what do I do when I get older? I buy houses, right? I didn't even know this was going to be something I do. I just knew I did it all the time. Like when everyone was figuring out how they're going to buy their first house, I'm like, I'm going to buy a duplex. This is where I'm going to move. You moving back to Buffalo, New York. Why would you move there? I'm like, well, the cost of living is dirt cheap. I make well over 6 figures. So, dude, man, this is why not? I'm buying multiple houses and live for free. And my plan worked out, right? So again, that you don't know what that one thing that you teach him will, change his trajectory in life, or how would it help him on his journey? Because now maybe at school he needs to edit a video for a project. Now he can do it, and it's something super simple, right? Because that's going to be something going forward. He might figure out an AI tool like, hey, Amy, boom, you press this one little magical button, and now your video is edited in whatever way you want it. I love when I'm working with my some of my kids. I said kids, I mean younger adults, right? Because they solve problems completely different. They don't have the resources sometimes, so they find tools to do it like I used to do. But sometimes we don't have the time to do that. So I think that'd be a pretty cool thing if you did let him edit it, and hopefully he's willing and wanting to do it, right? So
yes, absolutely. You dropped a lot of gems today. How can the audience get in contact with you, sign up for Tech Simplified, all of that?
Oh, that's great. So, I love continuing the conversation. I'm on LinkedIn. You can definitely find me at Sly, Sly Gittens. Easy to find me. Ain't that many Slys and ain't that many Gittens. Next, you can also go to SG, Sylvester Gittens, Tech, TECH, Simp, SIMP.com, techsimp.com. And you can sign up for the newsletter. I got a monthly newsletter where I share gems, whether it is videos that I'm coming out with, career content, new swag and merchandise we're coming out with, new training material. You can find me on there. I'm on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube Shorts, Twitter, whatever you on, I'm on, right? So just send me a message and I check it often, or if it's not me, someone on the team is checking it. So just reach out. I'm usually able to respond. I got a family, so it might be a little delayed, so be kind. But definitely, if I don't respond to you, just ping me on LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn, or drop a message on the website, right? It's come straight to my phone. And I just wish everyone keep learning and keep growing. If one thing you learn from me, always be learning.
Always be learning. Thank you for joining me today. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Amy. It's always a blast.
Thank you.